Admiral Veltar stood on the bridge of his massive warship. His four eyes looked at the stars through the clear metal windows. The ship was called Eternal Supremacy, and it was the biggest in the Fourth Fleet. Around him, other ships moved like metal sharks in the dark space. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a planet. Veltar was proud. His people, the Krillians, had built the greatest empire in the galaxy. They had conquered 12,000 worlds. No species could stand against their power. Their technology was the best. Their weapons were the strongest. Their ships were the fastest. "Admiral," called Captain Noxrian from his station, "we have found something strange." Veltar turned his large head toward the captain. His skin was purple and covered in small scales. Like all Krillians, he was tall and strong. "What is it?" "A ship, sir. It appeared on our sensors 10 minutes ago. It looked different." The main screen showed a picture of the strange ship. Veltar looked at it and almost laughed. The ship was small and ugly. Its hull was made of simple metal plates. There were no energy shields around it. The weapons looked old and basic. It was nothing like the beautiful Krillian ships with their smooth curves and glowing energy fields. "How many life forms are on that ship?" Veltar asked. Science Officer Thelmos checked his instruments. 847, sir. "That is very few for a ship that size." Captain Noxrian shook his head. "It must be a cargo ship from some backward planet. Look at those weapons. They are just metal tubes. Probably shoot simple bullets." Other officers on the bridge began to laugh. They had seen many species try to resist the Empire. All of them had failed. This ship looked weaker than most, but Thelmos was not laughing. He kept looking at his readings. Something was wrong. The ship's power signature was strange. It was too focused, too clean. Most primitive ships had messy energy patterns. "This one was almost perfect, sir," Thelmos said quietly. "The power readings are unusual." "What do you mean?" Veltar asked. "The energy flow is very efficient, more efficient than it should be for such a primitive design, and the armor plating is thicker than normal for a cargo ship." Captain Noxrian waved his hand. "You worry too much, Thelmos. Look at it, no shields, old weapons, weak hull. It is probably some explorer ship that got lost." On the human ship Soul's Pride, Captain Kim Taeho sat in his command chair. He was calm and quiet. His brown eyes watched the alien ships on his screen. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. They all wore simple blue uniforms. No fancy decorations. No shiny armor. Taeho had been expecting this moment for months. Earth had sent many ships like his into space. They all looked like simple cargo ships, but they were much more than that. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park Somin, "the alien ships are scanning us." "Let them," Taeho replied. "Are our false readings working?" Chief Engineer Lee Dongwoo nodded from his station.
"Yes, sir."
"They see what we want them to see. Weak engines, simple weapons, basic armor." Tactical Officer Choi Minho looked nervous. "Sir, should we prepare our real weapons?" Taeho shook his head. "Not yet. Humans did not survive by showing strength too early. We watch, we learn, we wait." The human ship had been in space for 6 months. It carried trade goods and scientific equipment. But it also carried weapons that the aliens could not detect. The hull looked simple, but it was made of materials that could stop energy blasts. The crew looked like peaceful traders, but they were all trained soldiers. Back on the Krillian ship, Admiral Veltar was getting bored. "Open a channel to that ship," he ordered. The screen changed to show Captain Taeho sitting in his chair. The human looked small compared to the tall aliens. His skin was tan and his black hair was cut short. He wore no armor or weapons that could be seen. "Primitive vessel," Veltar said in his deep voice. "You are in Krillian space. You will surrender your ship and crew for integration into our empire." Taeho listened to the translation through his earpiece. When the alien finished speaking, he answered calmly. "We are peaceful traders from Earth. We request safe passage through your space. We mean no harm to anyone." The Krillian officers laughed louder. Captain Noxrian could not believe what he heard. Did that little creature just refuse our admiral? Veltar's four eyes narrowed. In all his years of conquest, no inferior species had ever spoken to him this way. Usually, primitive species begged for mercy. They offered treasure or slaves. They never asked for safe passage like they were equals. "You do not understand," Veltar said slowly. "We are the Krillian Empire. We rule this part of space. You will surrender now or we will take your ship by force." On the human ship, Navigation Officer Bei Jin-woo whispered to his captain. Sir, they have 43 ships. Each one is bigger than us. Tae-ho nodded but did not look worried. Numbers are not everything, Jin-woo. Quality matters more than quantity. Back on the alien ship, Thelmos was still studying his readings. The more he looked, the more worried he became. The human ship was too calm, too ready. Most primitive species panicked when they met the Empire. Their power systems became unstable. Their crews made mistakes, but this ship was steady. Its power flow never changed. Its crew seemed to know exactly what they were doing. Admiral, Thelmos said carefully, I think we should be careful with these humans. Captain Noxarian turned to glare at the science officer. Careful? Of that tiny ship? Look at their weapons. Look at their armor. My personal fighter could destroy them. Veltar raised his hand for silence. He looked at the human captain on the screen. There was something in the human's eyes. No fear, no panic. Just calm patience, like he was waiting for something. You have one more chance, Veltar told Tae-ho. Surrender now. Tae-ho looked directly at the alien admiral. We cannot do that, but we do not want to fight. Please let us pass. The bridge fell silent. No species had ever said no twice to a Krillian admiral. Veltar felt his anger rising. These humans needed to learn their place in the galaxy. Prepare boarding pods, he ordered his crew. We will take their ship and put the survivors in work camps. Their primitive weapons cannot hurt our warriors. As the alien ships moved closer, Tae-ho turned to his crew. All stations prepare for visitors. Remember your training. Show them what humans can do. The game was about to begin. Admiral Veltar watched as 12 boarding pods shot out from his ships. Each pod carried 20 Krillian shock troopers. These were not normal soldiers. They were the best warriors in the Empire. Their bodies had been changed with special chemicals to make them stronger and faster. Their armor could stop most weapons. Their energy rifles could cut through metal like paper. This will be over quickly, Captain Noxarian said with confidence. 240 elite troops against primitive humans. The humans probably do not even know how to fight properly. On the main screen, they could see the small metal pods flying toward the human ship. The Soul's Pride did not try to run. It did not fire its weapons. It just sat there in space like it was waiting. Sir, reported the weapons officer, the human ship is not defending itself. Should we call back the boarding pods? No, Veltar replied. Let them take the ship. I want to question these humans about their species, where they come from, how many ships they have. Then we will decide what to do with their homeworld. Science Officer Thelmos was still watching his instruments. The human ship's power readings had not changed at all. Most ships showed some kind of stress when they were being attacked. Energy spikes from weapons charging, power drops from damaged systems, emergency signals between crew members, but the human ship was perfectly calm. Like this was a normal day. The first boarding pod hit the human ship's hull with a loud crash. Metal teeth on the pod bit into the ship's side. Cutting tools began to slice through the outer wall. Soon there was a hole big enough for soldiers to enter. Shock Trooper Commander Zil-Noth was the first one through the hole. He was 3 feet taller than a normal Krillian and twice as strong. His black armor was covered with weapons. In his hands, he carried an energy rifle that could kill 10 humans with one shot. Behind him came 19 more troopers. They moved fast through the corridors of the human ship. Everything looked old and simple. The walls were just painted metal. The lights were basic white strips. No fancy decorations, no advanced technology. This is almost too easy, Zil-Noth said to his troops. Find the humans and capture them alive. The Admiral wants to talk to them. The troopers spread out through the ship. They had done this thousands of times before. Most species ran and hid when they saw Krillian warriors. The smart ones surrendered right away. The stupid ones tried to fight with their weak weapons. But something was wrong. The corridors were too quiet. Most ships had background noise. Machines humming. Air systems working. People talking. This ship was silent except for the sound of heavy boots on metal floors. Trooper Hekran turned a corner and stopped. Standing in front of him was a human. The creature was much smaller than a Krillian. It wore simple green clothes and held what looked like an old projectile weapon. The human's face was calm. Surrender now, Hekran ordered in basic galactic language. Drop your weapon. The human was Sergeant Major Yoon Jae-sung. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth. He had trained for this moment for 2 years. He looked at the tall alien in its fancy armor and smiled. No. Yoon said simply. Then he disappeared. Hekran blinked in confusion. The human had been right there. Now the corridor was empty. Before he could react, something hit him hard from behind. His armor protected him from most of the impact, but the force was enough to knock him down. He rolled over and fired his energy rifle down the corridor. The bright beam hit the wall and burned a hole in the metal, but there was no human to hit. Contact. Hekran called into his radio. The humans are fighting back. All through the ship, similar scenes were happening. The shock troopers entered rooms expecting to find scared civilians. Instead, they found empty spaces with no way out. When they tried to leave, doors that had been open were now closed. Lights went out. Strange sounds came from the walls. Commander Zilnoth was getting angry. His troops were the best fighters in the galaxy. They should have captured this small ship in minutes. Instead, they were stumbling around in the dark while invisible humans picked them off one by one. Report, he called to his squads. Squad 2 has lost 3. Men, came one reply. Squad 4 cannot find any humans, came another. Squad 6 is trapped. In a room that has no exit, said a third. Iced on the bridge of the Soul's Pride. Captain Tejo watched his crew work. Each person had a job to do. Engineer specialist Han Soo-jin controlled the ship's internal systems. She could open and close any door, turn lights on and off, change the airflow, make sounds come from speakers hidden in the walls. The aliens are in Section C, reported Tactical Officer Choi Min-ho. Our people are ready, Tejo nodded. Every human on the ship knew the plan. They had practiced it hundreds of times. The ship had been built for this. Every corridor could become a trap. Every room could be a weapon. Sergeant Major Yoon moved through the ship's ventilation system like a ghost. The aliens were big and strong, but they were also slow and loud. Their armor made them easy to hear. Their energy weapons lit up the dark corridors like torches. Yoon dropped down behind another trooper. This one was standing guard while his partner tried to cut through a door. Yoon's weapon was simple, just a projectile rifle that fired metal bullets, but he knew exactly where to aim. The bullet hit the alien in the back of the neck where the armor was thinnest. The trooper fell down and did not get up. His partner turned around just in time to see Yoon disappear into another ventilation shaft. Back on the Krillian ship, Admiral Veltar was watching the reports with growing anger. His best troops were being defeated by primitive humans with simple weapons. How is this possible? Captain Noxrian asked. Our troopers have the best armor, the best weapons, the best training. Science Officer Thelmos had been studying the battle data. Sir, I think the humans know their ship better than we thought. Look at these movement patterns. They are not running randomly. They have a plan. What kind of plan? Veltar demanded. They are using the ship itself as a weapon. Closing doors to split up our forces. Turning off lights to create confusion. Using ventilation systems to move around without being seen. On the human ship, the battle was turning. The Krillian troopers were strong and well-armed, but they were fighting on human terms now. In narrow corridors where their size was a problem. In dark rooms where their energy weapons gave away their position. Against an enemy that knew every secret passage and hidden door. Marine Corporal Kim Boram waited in a maintenance tunnel. She could hear heavy footsteps above her. 3 aliens were walking right over her hiding place. She counted to 5, then pressed a button. The floor opened up under the aliens. They fell into a cargo hold that had been prepared for this. When they hit the bottom, the lights came on. They found themselves surrounded by 5 human Marines with weapons pointed at them. Drop your weapons, ordered the Marines. The aliens had no choice. They were trapped. Commander Zilnoth was down to half his force. The rest were either captured or had stopped responding to radio calls. He gathered his remaining troops in a large cargo bay. At least here they could see in all directions. Sir, one of his troopers said nervously. Maybe we should retreat. Zilnoth roared in anger. Retreat? From these tiny creatures? We are Krillian shock troopers. We do not retreat. But even as he said the words, he knew something was very wrong. These humans were not fighting like any enemy he had ever faced. They did not try to meet the Krillians in direct combat. Instead, they used tricks and traps. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Worse, their simple weapons were working. The projectile bullets could not pierce Krillian armor from the front, but they could find the weak spots. The joints, the neck seals, the eyepieces. Commander, his radio crackled. This is the Admiral. Report your status. Zilnoth did not want to answer. How could he explain that the greatest warriors in the galaxy were being beaten by primitive humans? We are encountering unexpected resistance, sir. There was a long pause. Then Admiral Veltar's angry voice, what kind of resistance? Before Zilnoth could answer, the lights in the cargo bay went out. Admiral Veltar stared at the communication screen in disbelief. The last signal from Commander Zilnoth had been cut off suddenly. 240 of the Empire's best warriors had been sent to capture one small human ship. Now most of them were not responding to radio calls. Sir, Captain Noxrian said quietly, we have lost contact with boarding teams 3, 7, and 12. Teams 4 and 9 report heavy casualties. Veltar's 4 eyes burned with anger and confusion. This was impossible. His shock troopers had conquered worlds. They had defeated armies of millions. How could they be losing to a few hundred humans? Order a full tactical scan of that ship, he commanded. I want to know everything about it. Science Officer Thelmos worked quickly at his instruments. The sensors examined every part of the human vessel. What they found made his blood run cold. Admiral, Thelmos said in a shaking voice, you need to see this. The main screen filled with detailed images of the human ship. But now they could see things that had been hidden before. The simple metal plates were not simple at all. They were made of materials designed to absorb energy blasts. The crude weapons were actually very advanced projectile systems that could change their ammunition type during flight. Look at the internal structure, Thelmos continued. The ship has backup systems for everything. If one power line is cut, 10 others can take its place. The corridors are designed to be defended. Every room can be sealed off. There are hidden passages everywhere. Captain Noxrian studied the images. This is not a cargo ship at all. No, Thelmos agreed. This is a warship disguised as a cargo ship. But it is more than that. Look at these specifications. This ship was built to fight inside itself. Every surface, every system, every piece of equipment is placed to give the crew an advantage in close combat. Admiral Veltar felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. What kind of species built cargo ships that were also weapons of war? Sir, the communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the human ship. The screen changed to show Captain Tejo sitting calmly in his chair. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations as if nothing was happening. There were no signs of battle. No emergency lights. No damaged equipment. Admiral Veltar, Tejo said politely. Your soldiers are safe. We have captured those who survived. We treated their wounds and gave them food and water. You may have them back if you wish. Veltar could not speak for a moment. The human was offering to return captured Krillian warriors? No enemy had ever done that before. Usually captured soldiers were tortured or killed. Why? Veltar finally asked. Because we do not want to fight, Tejo replied. We told you this before. We are traitors, not conquerors. We only defended ourselves because you attacked us. Defended? Captain Noxurian shouted. You destroyed an elite assault force. Tejo looked sad. We tried to capture them alive. Some of your soldiers would not surrender. They chose to fight to the death. We respected their choice. On the human ship, Communications Officer Park So-min was sending another message. But this one was not going to the Krillian fleet. It was going to Earth through a hidden transmitter. The message was short. First contact successful. Enemy capabilities assessed. Recommend Phase 2. The transmission traveled through space faster than any Krillian ship could move. It used technology that the Empire had never seen before. Within hours, it would reach human space. Within days, the response would arrive. But Admiral Veltar knew nothing about this message. He was too busy trying to understand what had happened to his troops. Thelmos, he said, show me the battle recordings again. The science officer replayed the fight inside the human ship. The images showed Krillian soldiers stumbling through dark corridors. They showed humans appearing and disappearing like shadows. They showed simple human weapons defeating advanced alien armor. How are their projectile weapons so effective? Veltar asked. The bullets change shape during flight, Thelmos explained. They become longer and thinner to pierce armor. Or they flatten out to create maximum impact. The humans can change the ammunition type just by pressing a button. And their tactics? Unlike anything we have seen before. They do not try to overpower their enemies. Instead, they use intelligence and preparation. Look at this section. The humans knew exactly where our troops would go. They prepared traps in advance. They used the ship's own systems as weapons. Captain Noxrian was studying the crew of the human ship. Look at them. They are so calm, like this is normal for them. Thalmos had been thinking the same thing. Sir, I have been analyzing their cultural broadcasts. What I found is very disturbing. Explain, Veltar ordered. Human children play games that simulate warfare. Their entertainment consists of stories about conflict and combat. Their sports are organized fighting. Even their civilian ships carry weapons and armor. What are you saying? I am saying that this entire species appears to be militarized. Not just their soldiers, but everyone. They think about conflict and strategy the way we think about breathing. On the human ship, Captain Tai Ho was meeting with his senior officers. The battle was over, but their real mission was just beginning. Did we get everything we needed? He asked. Chief Engineer Lee Dongwu nodded. Yes, sir. We recorded their weapon frequencies, their armor specifications, their tactical methods. We know how fast their ships move and how strong their shields are. Tactical Officer Choi Min-ho added more information. Their soldiers are strong but not very smart. They rely on overwhelming force. They do not adapt well when their plans fail. Navigation Officer Bei Jin-woo had been monitoring the alien fleet. Sir, they have 43 ships in this group, but our sensors detect much larger forces in nearby systems. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. Taeho was not worried. Numbers mean nothing if you cannot use them effectively. How long until our friends arrive? 18 hours, Bei replied. Back on the Krillian flagship, Admiral Veltar was making a difficult decision. His pride wanted him to attack the human ship with his entire fleet. 43 warships against one enemy vessel should be an easy victory, but his intelligence told him to be careful. These humans had already proven they were not what they seemed. What other surprises might they have? Sir, Science Officer Thelmos said urgently, I am detecting strange energy readings in the area. What kind of readings? Unknown. The patterns do not match any technology in our database. Captain Noxrian looked at the sensor displays. Could it be more human ships? I do not know. The readings are very faint, almost like something is trying to hide. Admiral Veltar made his choice. Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have encountered a new species. Request immediate reinforcements. How many ships should we request? The communications officer asked. Veltar looked at the small human ship on his screen. It looked so harmless, so weak, but he had learned not to trust appearances. All of them, he said. On the human ship, Captain Taeho received a report from his sensor officer. Sir, the aliens are calling for help. Large fleet movements detected in nearby systems. Taeho smiled. Everything was going according to plan. The aliens had taken the bait. Now they would learn what humans could really do. Send the final signal to Earth, he ordered. Tell them the party is about to begin. Admiral Veltar waited for his reinforcements to arrive. Around the human ship, his 43 vessels formed a perfect battle formation. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their shields glowed with protective energy. Nothing could escape this trap. Sir, reported Captain Noxrian, Admiral Kethmore's fleet will arrive in 6 hours. That will give us 200 more ships. Veltar nodded. He still felt uneasy about the small human vessel floating calmly in the center of his formation. The ship had not moved. It had not powered up weapons. It just sat there like it was waiting for something. What are they doing? He wondered aloud. Science Officer Thelmos was monitoring the human ship constantly. Their power readings remain stable, sir. No weapons charging. No shield activation. They are sending regular communications to their homeworld, but we cannot break their encryption. They are probably calling for help, Captain Noxrian said, but help cannot arrive in time. We control all the space routes in this area. What the aliens did not know was that human ships had been in their space for months. Not big warships, but small vessels like the Soul's Pride. Each ship looked like a peaceful trader or explorer. Each ship had been mapping Krillian space and studying their military, and each ship had been waiting for this moment. 18 hours after the first battle, space around the Krillian fleet began to change. It started slowly. A small distortion here, a strange shadow there. The alien sensors detected nothing wrong at first, then the shadows began to move. Sir, called the sensor operator on the Eternal Supremacy. I am reading unusual gravitational fluctuations in the area. What kind of fluctuations? Veltar asked. Unknown, sir. The patterns are very strange. Almost like something large is moving, but I cannot see anything on the scanners. The human ships did not use energy shields or cloaking devices like other species. Instead, they used something much simpler: physical camouflage, heat dampening, electromagnetic silence. They moved through space like submarines moved through Earth's oceans, silent and invisible. The Busan Thunder was the first to reveal itself. One moment, empty space. The next moment, a human warship sitting right next to a Krillian destroyer. The alien crew had no time to react before the human ship fired, but the humans did not use energy weapons like the aliens expected. Instead, they fired physical projectiles, massive chunks of metal moving at incredible speed. The Krillian shields were designed to stop energy beams. They did nothing against solid objects. The destroyer exploded in seconds. "Contact!" screamed the communications officer. "We are under attack." More human ships appeared. The Incheon's vengeance, the Daegu's promise, the Gangnam victory. Each ship looked different from the others. Some were long and thin. Others were wide and flat. But all of them carried the same type of weapons. Admiral Veltar stared in shock as his perfect formation fell apart. His ships tried to turn and fight, but the humans were already too close. They appeared right next to Krillian vessels and fired before the aliens could respond. "How many ships are there?" Veltar shouted. "I count 15, no 20. Sir, more are appearing every second." The human fleet commander was Admiral Ryu Seonho. His flagship was called the Taekwondo, and it was the largest human warship in the area. But even it looked small compared to the massive Krillian vessels. Ryu opened a communication channel to Admiral Veltar. When his image appeared on the alien's screen, the Krillian was surprised. The human admiral was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple uniform with few decorations. "Admiral Veltar," Ryu said in perfect Krillian language, "you attacked a human ship without cause. You threatened human lives. This will not be allowed." "How?" Veltar started to say, then stopped. "How did you learn our language?" "We have been watching you for a long time," Ryu replied. "We know your technology. We know your tactics. We know your weaknesses." "Impossible. Our space is protected. Our sensors would have detected any ships." Ryu smiled. "Your sensors look for energy signatures. Our ships produce very little energy. Your patrols search for large fleets. We sent small groups. Your intelligence looks for obvious threats. We appear harmless until we choose not to." The battle around them was not going well for the Krillians. Their large ships were powerful, but they were also slow. The human vessels moved like dancers, appearing and disappearing around the alien fleet. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hai flew her fighter craft between two Krillian battleships. Her ship looked like a civilian transport, but it carried weapons that could damage much larger vessels. She fired a spread of missiles at the nearest enemy ship, then vanished behind an asteroid before they could shoot back. "This is impossible," Captain Noxarian said as he watched his fleet take damage. "We have bigger ships, better weapons, more firepower. How are they winning?" Science Officer Thelmos had been studying the human attack patterns. "Sir, they are not trying to overpower us. They are using precision strikes against our weak points. Look at this." The screen showed a human ship attacking a Krillian cruiser. Instead of shooting at the heavily armored front, the humans aimed at the engine section. One good hit disabled the entire ship. "They know exactly where to strike," Thelmos continued, "like they have studied our ship designs for years." "They have," Ryu's voice came over the communication channel. He had been listening to their conversation. "Every ship you have sent into neutral space, every patrol you have run, every battle you have fought. We have been watching and learning." Veltar felt his anger rising. "You dare spy on the Krillian Empire?" "We dare to defend ourselves," Ryu replied calmly. "You have conquered 12,000 worlds. Did you think no one would notice? Did you think no one would prepare?" Around the flagship, the battle continued. But it was not really a battle anymore. It was a demonstration. The humans were not trying to destroy the entire Krillian fleet. They were showing what they could do if they wanted to. Human fighters swarmed around alien battleships like bees around bears. They were too small and fast for the big weapons to hit. But their own weapons were perfectly designed to hurt larger ships. "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "should we fire our main guns?" Veltar hesitated. His ship's main weapons could destroy a human vessel with one shot. But the humans were moving too fast, and they were too close to his own ships. If he missed, he might hit his own people. "Admiral," came a desperate call from one of his captains. "The humans have disabled our engines. We cannot move." "This is Captain Yulton of the Burning Sword," came another voice. "Human boarders have taken our bridge. They demand surrender." Veltar looked at the tactical display. Half his fleet was damaged or disabled. The humans had not destroyed a single ship completely, but they had made most of them helpless. "Why?" he asked Ryu. "Why do you not finish us?" The human admiral's expression was serious. "Because we do not want to be conquerors like you. We want to trade. We want to explore. We want to learn from other species. But we will not be conquered by anyone." "You could destroy us," Veltar said quietly. "Yes. But then your people would send more fleets. There would be war between our species. Many would die on both sides. That is not what we want." On the human flagship, Admiral Ryu was meeting with his officers. The demonstration had worked perfectly. The Krillians now knew that humans were not helpless victims. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "long-range sensors detect the Krillian reinforcement fleet. 200 ships approaching fast." Ryu nodded. "Perfect timing. Signal all ships. Prepare for Phase 3. Back on the Krillian flagship, Admiral Veltar was trying to understand what was happening. His reinforcements would arrive soon. Admiral Kethmore commanded the largest fleet in this part of space. Surely 200 fresh ships could defeat the humans. But looking at the tactical display, Veltar was no longer sure. These humans fought unlike any enemy he had ever faced. They were patient. They were clever. And they seemed to be several steps ahead of every move the Krillians made. "Sir," Science Officer Thelmos said quietly, "I am reading massive energy signatures approaching from multiple directions." "The reinforcements?" "No, sir. These signatures are different. Unknown ship types, unknown technology. And there are a lot of them." Admiral Veltar felt his blood turn cold. If these readings were correct, the human reinforcements were much larger than anything the Krillians had sent. The Empire was about to learn what happened when humans stopped pretending to be peaceful traders. Space around the battle area began to fill with new ships. They did not appear slowly like the first human vessels. Instead, they arrived in groups, dropping out of faster-than-light travel with perfect timing. Admiral Veltar watched his sensors as the numbers climbed higher and higher. 50 human ships, then 100, then 200, then 500. "This cannot be real," Captain Noxrian whispered. "Where did they all come from?" Science Officer Thelmos was working frantically at his station. "Sir, these ships are using technology we have never seen. Their engines produce almost no heat signature. Their hulls are made of materials that absorb our sensor beams. We cannot get accurate readings on their weapons or defenses." Admiral Kethamore's reinforcement fleet arrived right on schedule. 200 of the Empire's finest warships dropped out of hyperspace, ready to crush the human attackers. But what they found was not a small group of primitive vessels. They found the largest human battle fleet ever assembled. "Admiral Veltar," came Kethmore's voice over the communication system. "What is the situation here?" Veltar did not know how to answer. How could he explain that the Empire's greatest military force was being defeated by a species they had never heard of before? We underestimated the humans," he said finally. Admiral Ryu Seon-ho opened a new communication channel. This time his message went to both Krillian fleets. "Admirals Veltar and Kethmore," he said calmly. "You now have 300 warships in this area. We have 800. Your ships are damaged and low on ammunition. Our ships are fresh and fully armed. You can continue this fight if you wish, but I think we should talk instead." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Kethmore stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human fleet surrounded both Krillian forces completely. Worse, the human ships were not arranged in any formation he recognized. They seemed to be everywhere at once, making it impossible to find a weak point to attack. "How is this possible?" he asked his science officer. "Our intelligence report said humans were a primitive species with simple technology." "Our intelligence was wrong, sir. Very wrong." Captain Tejo of the Soul's Pride had been watching the entire battle from his command chair. His small ship was now just one vessel among hundreds, but his mission had been the most important. He had proven that humans could defeat Krillian forces. He had shown that the Empire was not invincible. "Sir," Communications Officer Park So-min reported, "Admiral Ryu is requesting permission to board the alien flagship." "Permission granted," Tejo replied. "And Park? Good work today." An hour later, Admiral Ryu walked onto the bridge of the Eternal Supremacy. He was accompanied by only 2 guards and a translator. His calm confidence was more intimidating than an army of soldiers. Admiral Veltar had expected the human to be large and threatening like a Krillian warrior. Instead, Ryu was average height with graying hair and kind eyes. He looked more like a teacher than a military commander. "Admiral Veltar," Ryu said politely, "thank you for agreeing to meet." "I had little choice," Veltar replied bitterly. "Your fleet could destroy us all." "Yes, we could, but we do not want to. Destroying your ships would solve nothing. It would only make your empire send more fleets. Eventually, we would have to fight the entire Krillian military. That would mean millions of deaths on both sides." Ryu walked to the large windows that showed the space battle outside. Human and alien ships floated near each other, weapons powered down but ready. "Your empire controls 12,000 worlds," Ryu continued. "You have built a great civilization. You have advanced technology. You have solved many problems that still challenge other species. We respect what you have accomplished. But," Veltar asked, "but you have made one serious mistake. You believe that conquest is the only way to grow. You think that being strong means making others weak. This is not true." Ryu turned to face the alien admiral. "Humans have fought many wars on our home planet. We have conquered and been conquered many times. We have learned that the strongest civilizations are not built on fear, they are built on cooperation." "Cooperation?" Captain Noxrian laughed harshly. "Species cooperate with us because they have no choice. They submit to our power or we destroy them." "And how is that working?" Ryu asked quietly. "How many rebellions do you face each year? How many worlds try to break away from your empire? How much of your military is needed just to keep your own people under control?" The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. The empire spent more resources fighting rebellions than it did exploring new space. "What do you propose?" Admiral Veltar asked. "Trade instead of conquest. Cooperation instead of submission. Let the worlds of your empire choose to stay or leave. Help them solve their problems instead of creating new ones. Build alliances instead of dependencies." "The Empire will never accept this," Admiral Kethmore said from his ship. "Our people have ruled this part of space for 1,000 years. We will not give up our power because one species defeats us in battle." Ryu nodded. "I understand. Change is difficult, especially for those who have been successful for so long. But consider this. You are not the only empire in this galaxy. There are others, some even larger than yours. What happens when they decide to expand into your territory? Will you be able to defend 12,000 worlds that hate you? Or would it be better to have 12,000 worlds that want to help you?" Over the next 3 hours, the human admiral explained his proposal. The Krillian Empire would become the Krillian Confederation. Each world would have the right to choose its own government. Trade would replace tribute. Military cooperation would replace forced submission. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Veltar asked. "Then you return to your space and we return to ours. But we will be watching. Any Krillian ship that attacks human vessels or human allies will be destroyed. Any attempt to conquer worlds that ask for human protection will be stopped. The age of easy expansion is over." "You would go to war with the entire empire to protect species you have never met?" "Yes," Ryu said simply. "Because we understand something you do not. In a galaxy full of intelligent life, cooperation makes everyone stronger. Conquest only makes enemies." 6 months later, Captain Tejo stood on the observation deck of a space station orbiting the former Krillian capital world. Through the windows, he could see ships from dozens of species docking and departing. Human vessels worked alongside former Empire ships. Trade goods flowed between worlds that had been enemies just months before. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park Somin, now his second in command, "we have received a message from Earth. Fleet Admiral Oh Hyun-sik wants to know if we are ready for Phase 4. Tejo smiled as he watched a Krillian cargo ship dock next to a human explorer vessel. The two crews would probably share stories and technical knowledge before departing for their next destinations. "Tell the Admiral that Phase 3 is still working perfectly. The Confederation is growing stronger every day. Former Empire worlds are applying for membership faster than we can process the applications. And Phase 4? Tejo pointed to the star charts displayed on the wall. They showed the entire galaxy, with different colors marking various empires and federations. Most of the galaxy was still controlled by conquest-based civilizations like the old Krillian Empire. Phase 4 will begin when the next empire makes the same mistake the Krillians did, when they assume that humans are weak because we prefer peace, when they learn that the most dangerous warriors are those who do not want to fight. Park So-min looked at the star charts. How many more empires are there? Dozens, maybe hundreds. But each one that learns the lesson makes the galaxy a little bit safer. Each one that chooses cooperation over conquest makes the next lesson easier to teach. And if they do not learn? Taeho's expression became serious. Then they will discover what the Krillians discovered. That humans have spent thousands of years learning how to fight, and we have become very, very good at it. In the distance, a new fleet of human ships departed for unexplored space. They looked like simple exploration vessels carrying scientists and diplomats. But Captain Taeho knew better. Each ship was also a weapon. Each crew was also an army. Each peaceful mission was also a warning. The galaxy was about to become a much more civilized place. Whether it wanted to or not,